Passionate about music.
Our favourite life coach is back with us. Johnny Ball is here. Hello, Johnny.
You look very tanned.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I do.
Oh, you do a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Resides in Spain, pops back to the UK every now and then.
Yeah, like Kirsty Allsop. You're like Kirsty Allsop.
Now, there's a topic of conversation that comes up every once in a while on this show. It's about a book which is called The Velvet Rage. And I know that you've read the book, and we want to talk about it a bit with you because you're a life coach, man. You'll know all this stuff. Just first of all, tell us what the book is about.
Essentially, it's about the sort of stages that most gay men go through. In fact, probably most gay women as well, but the author particularly focuses on writing about gay men just because of the experiences tend to be different, and he wanted to focus on one area. But the stages that you go through in coming out and what essentially stays with us and can actually stop us from being more successful or having more fulfilled lives as gay people, particularly all around being stuck in shame. So you go through like these three stages. One is sort of being bathed in shame and not being able to accept who you are. The next stage is sort of being more accepting but still dealing with the shame. Then the third stage would be the positive one, which not everyone unfortunately gets to experience, which would be overcoming that and having a more fulfilling and happy life.
Where does the shame come from?
Really from around, from our environment, from the people who tell us it's all wrong to be gay. I mean, I can't think of many people who grew up in an environment where they thought it was okay, or where they...
Oh, well, it definitely not. Oh, that's great. It's kind of like, oh, no, it seemed like the worst news you could deliver someone.
And also, in the first place, being told exactly what it was. A lot of people, I didn't know.
No.
It's just part of me, but I didn't realise.
The book, around Gaydar Towers, the amount of people who've read it and said it's changed their lives. Would you recommend this book to read?
Absolutely. I honestly believe this should be given out with your gay membership card.
Yes,
for every single gay person. Every gay man and even every gay woman should read it, because the actual stages of overcoming shame are the same, even though the stories and experiences would be slightly different. But it's so important, and a lot of the work that I do with people, it makes me realise how important it is to get people into this stage. And one of my passions is particularly helping gay men and women to have more successful and fulfilled lives.
There's a great bit in the book, there's a great bit in the book, which, because I've just started reading it, and it's fascinating about how we go back to the horrendous same sort of one-night stands, the horrendous relationships that might be violent, or you put yourself down. And it talks about overcoming that, because people don't even realise they're in that sort of trapped circle, do they?
Exactly. And all of that, I mean, the whole sort of rage part of it also comes from really the hating of ourselves. That I think most of the things that we get angry about or that we hate in our lives are because we hate it in ourselves, rather than, I know you often say on the show that the people who scream the loudest are probably the ones that have a bit of a problem with their own sexuality in some way, or something they haven't dealt with yet.
Definitely.
But that's very much the case for a lot of gay people and LGBT people all over the world. That is so much shame around it that you end up hating yourself and hiding away this part of your life that just doesn't fit in with what you want it to be. So
what you thought you wanted it to be as well.
So you keep it all secret, and you have the shame around that then. So you have this double life, and in the book, N-Debz talks about split your personality a lot of the time to have this secret life and this public image that you put out to the world. Yeah. So there's all these people out there living, I would say, inauthentically, out of their integrity, because they have to hide this whole huge part of who they are, or what's inside them. But what the book actually really does, which is why I recommend it, it actually takes you through those three stages to recognise where they are in your life and get you into that more fulfilled stage that you can be in for yourself, to have happier, better relationships and whatever else you want.
We were talking to Andrew Hayden Smith just recently on the show, and he was talking about coming out to yourself, and he came out when he was about 17. I can't really quite put my finger on when I came out to myself, but it's different for everybody, isn't it? Why is that so? Why do you think people come to at different stages in their lives?
For most people, it's just, I think it's about acceptance and whether you feel that you're in a safe place to be able to do that. And I think one of the things we're very much creatures as human beings of, we live controlled by fear and happiness, really. But those are the two things that probably drive us the most. So if we're in a place where we don't feel safe to be open and honest about who we are, then we're not going to do that. We'll hide it back until we can at least feel that we have some level of stability or that we've got somewhere to go. But as people, we're not going to cut off our options when we don't see anything outside of that.
Do you think gay people have much more of a fear of rejection than anyone else in society?
No, I think everyone has that fear of rejection.
You do? Because it always seems to be that the answer, and we've heard from coming out stories, was the fear they didn't want to, they didn't want to lose their friends, they didn't want to be rejected by their family. And I always thought that was much more a gay issue, but it's not. It's everyone's like that.
I think it's everybody. I just think it's more profound for gay people who have a much more upfront experience of that, and to have the thing where if people do turn away from you because of that, there's really nothing you can do to change it. But also, just so many people just not able to recognise that the people who would turn away from them for that, they're not loving who they are anyway as a person. They're loving the image of
the false image they're projecting.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the whole thing of I do a lot of relationship work with people, and there's so many people out there who are having relationships with the person they want to be in a relationship with, rather than the person who they're actually with.
Yeah, because you do that thing when you meet somebody new and you project all the things that you want about them on that person, and then over time, gradually, the filter falls away and the real person comes forward. They were there all along, but you projected that onto them, to that person.
You wear your book cover, don't you, first of all?
It's the same in all of our relationships, whether they're intimate relationships or family or friends. We have relationships often with the people who we think they are, but sometimes you find out things about them that change your perspective or go against your values, which means that you're not unconditionally loving that person, you're just loving the bits that fit in with your values and what you think is acceptable.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I always think people who are nasty and bitchy and angry at the world, they're angry at themselves more than anything else.
This is a lot of what the Velvet Rage talks about. I mean, it's that internalised anger, particularly in that book, Internalised Homophobia, the fear. And N-Debz talks about one guy whose story was he ended up killing himself and leaving a note in his car saying, "I'd rather be dead than gay." Very, very tragic story, but not at all uncommon.
Oh my God.
The suicide rates among gay men, whether openly gay or not, are much, much higher.
This is appalling.
This is why the work that Stonewall are doing of getting directly into schools and
Ellie Barnes as well,
getting out there, and because it needs to happen right at this young level, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Get the right message out that it's
and
fine,
this is
you're
all
born this
based
way.
around shame, or the shame that people are growing up with, and the fear of rejection.
There's another bit in the Velvet Rage which is beautiful, and it's people who've they've made comments about the book, and they said, I would give this book to every friend, straight or gay, to help understand it. And it is, I agree with you, let's start that petition to have it handed out. It's the moment you realise, in fact before that, because it gets rid of the shame. It's one of the best books ever written, and it's changed more people's lives than I know.
Okay, so it's The Velvet Rage, and who's the author again?
Alan Downs, MD.
Okay, brilliant. Listen, always great talking to you, Johnny Ball, our life coach. We'll catch you next time.
It's a pleasure.
Passionate about music.